The knock at the door wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that made my stomach twist before I even understood why. When I opened it, our landlord, Mr. Harding, stood there, lips pressed tight, eyes drifting past me into the apartment I had spent years making ours. "We need to talk," he said, his voice steady but uneasy. I stepped aside, confused. "Of course. What's wrong?" He came in, removed his cap, and stared at me as though I was already guilty of something. "Your wife came to me yesterday. She said you've been hurting her, yelling, breaking things. She told me she doesn't feel safe here." The words froze me. My chest felt hollow, my mind blank. My wife, Emily, the woman I had breakfast with every morning, the one who used to fall asleep against me during late-night movies, had said that? "There's been some mistake," I whispered, but Harding only shook his head. "I can't take risks. I'll need you out by the end of the month." When he left, the silence of our home pressed in on me. The photos on the walls, our wedding day, vacations, even silly moments, looked suddenly false, like props in a stage play. I waited for Emily to return, rehearsing what I would say. Maybe she'd exaggerated. Maybe she'd been overwhelmed. She couldn't have just invented something like that. When she finally walked in, groceries in hand, I watched her carefully. She looked tired, distracted, but calm. "Emily," I said softly. The landlord came by. Her shoulders stiffened. She set the bag down without meeting my eyes. "He said you told him I've been abusive." For a moment, I caught a flash of guilt in her expression, but it vanished quickly. "I had to," she said flatly. "It was the only way." "The only way for what?" My voice cracked. She finally looked at me. Her gaze wasn't frightened. It was calculating. "I want you gone. We're finished." I just couldn't see another way to make it happen quickly. Her words sliced deeper than any knife. Just like that. Done. No talks, no tears, no chance to try. "So you lied?" I whispered. "You told him I hurt you just to force me out. Do you know what that could do to me?" Her jaw tightened. "Do you know what it's like living with someone I don't love anymore? Every day feels like a prison. I can't keep pretending." I wanted to shout, but the words broke before they could leave me. "Emily, you could have just told me. You didn't have to destroy me." Her eyes softened for a moment, then hardened again. "You'll be fine. You always are." That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the last year. The late nights she spent on her phone, the sudden trips, the distance in her touch. I'd noticed, but I buried it, convincing myself that love goes through phases. That denial had been my shield. Now it was gone, and all I could see were the cracks. The next morning, I called my old friend, Mark. I needed someone who knew me. When I told him what happened, there was a pause. "Man," he said quietly, "I didn't want to hurt you, but I've seen her with someone else. From her work, holding hands. It wasn't friendly." The room tilted. My knees gave out, and I sank onto the couch. Betrayal cut deeper than lies. She had painted me as a monster to cover her own. That evening when she came home, I didn't wait. "Who is he?" Her face went pale. That was enough of an answer. "You could have just left," I whispered. "You could have told me you didn't love me anymore. But instead, you made me into something I'm not." Tears filled her eyes, but her voice stayed cold. I didn't know how else to end it. I was afraid you'd hold on, that you'd try to fix something that was already dead. Her confession didn't bring closure, only deeper pain. "Emily, I would have fought for us, because that's what love means. But you didn't even give me the chance. You chose betrayal over honesty." She said nothing, and in her silence, I knew there was nothing left to save. A week later, I packed my things. Each item felt like part of myself being stripped away. The landlord's sympathetic glance did nothing to ease the ache. On my last night there, I stood in the doorway, staring at the emptiness where laughter, arguments, and whispered promises once lived. Emily didn't come out to say goodbye. I hadn't expected her to. As I closed the door, I realized I wasn't just leaving an apartment. I was leaving behind an illusion. Betrayal doesn't just end love. It rewrites the past, staining even the happiest memories. But stepping into the cool night air, suitcase in hand, I felt something unexpected, clarity. She had tried to erase me with lies, to turn me into the villain of her story. But the truth was mine to carry. I had loved her completely. My love didn't fail. Her honesty did. And as I walked away, scarred but not broken, I promised myself this. I would rebuild. Not for her. Not for anyone else. But for me.